Welcome back. In this little episode, I just want to touch briefly on the tools. Now, last episode, our first episode, I showed you about the tabs here. You can see I've got quite a few files open. And we had a quick look at the menus, the file menu, edit menu, and image menu. Today, I'd like to have a quick look at the tools. Photoshop has many tools. Every year they are upgraded, tools are added. I want to explain how to use the tools, select the tools, and demonstrate some of the newer versions of tools that are proving very popular. Look, the first thing I'd like to say is that if you notice over here on the left, the last tool I've used is the brush tool. Now in Photoshop, it will stay selected forever unless I choose a different tool. And I choose it by left-clicking on it. And now this tool, the Magic Wand tool, is now selected. If I just go back to the brush tool real quick, you'll see that when I choose the brush tool, this is the brush tool options. They've all appeared up here. So I can change the brush size. If I make it smaller or bigger, you can see the brush getting bigger and smaller there. I can also use the square brackets on the keyboard to do exactly the same thing. A soft brush or a hard brush, you can choose between them, different types of brush, dry media brushes, etc. And the opacity. So every time you make a mark, you can decide how much density that mark has. It will always paint this color here, the foreground color. So these two boxes in the toolbar represent your foreground color and your background color. At the moment it's blue and white. If you want to set it to black and white, you just click on that option. And if you want to change between, toggle between, you can use little double-ended arrows. So that's the brush tool. It's not a very good tool to just have chosen most of the time, because if you just accidentally click, you can see what I've just done there. I've made a black mark. The undo history is over here, and if I just go down to, it records every mark or every action that I do is recorded. So if I just go back to image size, and you can see now that that black mark has disappeared. That's very handy, the undo history, and it's just there, that little symbol there. So when you want to use it, just click on it. It gets in the way otherwise, so I just always use those double arrows to close it down. So a more harmless tool is the move tool. So virtually you can't do any damage with that. So it's a good walk around tool. Now, the other thing I wanted to draw your attention to quickly is that you can see that these little thumbnails for each of the tools, some of them have a little downward facing right hand arrow at the bottom of the thumbnail. If it does, it means there's more options underneath, and the way we get to those is right click. So if I just right click on the move tool, there's two options for it, the artboard tool and the move tool. If I right click on the marquee tool, there's a rectangular marquee tool, and you'll also notice that up here are the options for the marquee tools. Same with the polygonal lasso tool, all the options for that using that tool are here. If I right click, it shows me that there's three lasso tools I can choose from, the freehand one, polygonal, and the magnetic, which is diabolical to use. And then one of the new tools is this object selection tool, and we find that by right clicking on the magic wand tool here, and you'll see that the object selection tool is there, the quick selection tool is there, and the magic wand. If I wanted to choose the object selection tool, I just click on that, and you can see now that the object selection tool is there, and all the options for using that tool are up in that bar. So I don't want to spend too much time on these. I will finish this video presentation shortly, and then I'll come back with some specific things on selections. But while we're here, we had a look at the brush tool. Another one that's very popular is the clone stamp tool. It also has options. The pattern stamp tool is quite handy. There's the eraser tool. It has options. There is the bucket fill tool, which is handy for filling large areas with a colour, as demonstrated in the little video there. Again, right-clicking on that reveals that the gradient tool hides behind the paint bucket tool. That's always a good thing to know. And then down to the text tool, T for text. Again, there's options. There's a vertical type tool. There's a type mask tool, so you can actually type on, say, that colour there, and it will sample, so the actual letters will be made of that content there. So with the normal text tool selected though, up here in the tool options bar, you can see all the options you need. So there's all your fonts, the styles, the size, and the colour, and the whatever that's called again. So that's basically the tools. I will demonstrate the colour picker just before I go. If I do want to change that foreground colour, I just left click on it, and over here is the colour picker. You choose your main colour here. So if you want a crimson, something like that. The way this part works, this interior part here, is that's always the brightest, most intense one in the top right hand corner. That's the lightest, that's the darkest, and this is the dullest. This is the dullest version of the colour. That's the way that little colour picker window works. And when you click, it records that colour, and you just go OK, and you'll see that now the new foreground colour is that one we just selected. So if I painted with that, with the brush tool, I'd make that colour. Again, undo history, go back, find that brush mark, there it is, brush tool, go back one step, and that's gone. Okay, so I'll be back shortly with your first selection tool lesson. Thank you. Bye.